For joining us today and welcome to Lulac's State Convention. My name is Josie Marujo. I'm the State Deputy Director for Lulac. And beside me I have the State Director, Mr. Fred Baca. And we've got some wonderful surprise guests as well as speakers that I hope you enjoy. And we invite you to come to the rest of our convention. We've got some exciting workshops today. We'd love to see a lot of people in there. We've got a genealogy workshop. We've also got La Lumbre immediately following this breakfast.
Mark. Lecter. March.
Sorry.
Over. Mark.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
And thank you to all of the New Mexico Lulac leadership for your dedication to building power base in culture and community. I'm so grateful to be here with members from the 15 councils across New Mexico. Gatherings like this are both a beginning and an opportunity to forge a new future, strengthening the connections between and among the people committed to advocacy, service, and action. We are all here because we envision a just future in which our communities not only just get by, but thrive. Many of us come from communities that experienced oppression in one form or another, injustices that have shaped our past, affect our present, and need to be addressed into the future. We are here today because we believe in our collective power to imagine a future where our communities have the simple things: healthy foods, doctors, housing, good schools, clean air, after-school programs, family support, and so much more. You are doing this work at a time when a campaign of fear is targeting our communities, abducting people at work and separating parents from their children, elected officials barred from conducting lawful oversight of detention centers, United States senators handcuffed while simply doing their jobs. Back-to-school preparations now include protocols for potential immigration enforcement. Children who should be safe to focus on learning are worrying if their parents will be taken away or if they'll be picked up by ICE at school themselves. A push for a new census excluding immigrants, Native communities sidelined and support systems rolled back for all of us. This is all a part of a larger pattern that is repeating history. And I'm grateful that we have all of you, too. But this year's theme, Celebrating Our Past, Building Our Future, is more than a theme, it's a mission. As a 35th generation New Mexican, I know that no one at any point in time has accomplished anything alone. Not my ancestors, not when I took the job that was ultimately responsible for overseeing 70,000 employees across the country and historic investments in local communities. Not today as we plan our future in the face of a changing climate, in a political environment being dominated by people who believe our shared resources should only benefit a privileged few. As Secretary of the Interior, I led the agency to draw on the deep, rich history of Hispanic communities that contribute to our stewardship traditions, recognizing a special connection to the land where ceremonies, culture, and tradition are celebrated. And I want to say, I'm Native American, we experience that too. They tried to keep us from speaking our languages. And you know what? Here in New Mexico, we all spoke each other's languages. My grandfather spoke Spanish. The county commissioner that I met once in Taos, he speaks Tiwa so he can talk to the governor of Pueblo. We're a community that we all care about each other, and that's how we communicate. I'm very proud of that. Leaders like you taking on the responsibility of investing in our communities and leading without asking for permission, we can break barriers and make things better together. Because if a res kid from a humble beginning can break barriers, serve New Mexico in Congress, and then be confirmed as Secretary of the Interior, our country holds promise for everyone. But I also say to you that leadership matters. It's why I seek to lead, challenging the status quo. Think about how many white males were everywhere in every single leadership position in our country for centuries. It's our time, everyone. It's our time. My experience has taught me that the challenges we face, economic uncertainty, racial inequality, and racial inequity, climate change, barriers to healthcare, education, and housing can only be solved if every community has a voice, is respected, and is included in these solutions. That means folks need to be at the decision-making table. Folks need to have a voice before decisions are made. It's too late afterward. How do we know what you need or want unless you have that seat? Representation matters. And in the face of those who want to silence us, what are we going to be? Loud. There you go. Loud and clear about our values, and we need to be fierce. Our communities need champions like the people in this room more than ever. Don't forget that. You are a champion. Thank you all so much.
So, on behalf of our national office and on behalf of the authority that I have as national president, I get to honor folks around the country for work that they have done. And I'd like to honor Deb Haaland for the work that she did as the Secretary of Interior. She did a great job, and for that, I have a little token of our appreciation, which is the Lulac National Presidential Medal, and I'd like to present that to her tonight.
Just want to, on behalf of our national board and our almost 500,000 members, a lot of them are e-members. We got all these young kids, not kids, but they're in high school, some are in college, and they're just, some are graduated, and they're joining us just through email. And we've picked up, we did a petition the other day in regards to immigration reform and some other areas in immigration. And we had 170,000 people sign that. Now we got the petition and we're trying to figure out how do we get it over to the White House, so we don't get picked up or something, So I'm sure we'll figure that out. So anyway, on behalf of our national board and our members, thank you for the invite. Just real quickly on veterans, and I want to thank the state of New Mexico for hosting this event. We have them around the country. I just got back Sunday from our national convention. We were in Long Beach, California for about 4 days, and we had a great gathering. A lot of folks came out. We had about 500 delegates come out, and we had our elections, we had workshops, we had a lot of folks coming in from all over the country trying to just give us their best in regards to issues that are going on in federal government. So I started my career here with HUD. My last 30 of my 40 years with the federal government, I begun here in Albuquerque. I was a housing rep, and I was responsible for a couple of years of a lot of the housing, public housing that's around New Mexico. I was the representative who was responsible for having those houses built. And we had a few lawsuits. Most of them were up in the northern part of New Mexico. They didn't want our public housing, so we dealt with that. But I spent 30 years with HUD and retired as the regional director, overseeing 5 states. New Mexico was one of them. So I always wanted to make sure that New Mexico had what they needed. So that was part of my federal career. The last thing I just want to mention is that we've been through some difficult times, okay, difficult times. 2 weeks ago, I was in Texas testifying in regards to the redistricting that's happening in Texas. It's too bad that the governor in Texas is wanting to redistrict and gerrymander 5 districts right now. So we think that that's not the right thing to do, so we're fighting that. And in fact, we're waiting to see what they're going to do. They just restarted another session yesterday. And of course, our representatives, our friends, our good friends, are not in Texas. They have left the state, and they're, of course, being hosted by Governor Pritzker, who I think will be probably one of the folks that will probably run for president. But anyway, regardless of that, that's redistricting. The other things that we're seeing is on immigration. So we're working with some of the representatives, even though the House and the Senate, excuse me, are not controlled by the Democrats, okay? Even though we're nonpartisan, we have 2 sides of the House. We have a C3 that raises money, and we got to make sure that we are not in violation of IRS rules, but we also have the C4 organization, which is the Lulac national organization, and we're allowed to advocate for issues that affect the Hispanic community. So those are some of the things that we're doing tonight at the banquet. I do want to go over some other things, but I just kind of wanted to mention that we've got a fight on our hands in regards to redistricting. I saw Governor Newsom yesterday. He made some announcements regarding that. If they're going to pass this stuff in Texas, we're going to do it in California too. So, and the last thing that I want to mention is that we have got to, and I'm going around the country visiting with these LULAC states, because if we don't stand up today, if we don't stand up today, and if you look at the things that this administration is doing, whether it's the big ugly bill that was just passed a few weeks ago, the cuts that are coming in regards to Medicaid and just all these areas that they're going to cut drastically, some of them are not going to take effect till after the 2026 elections, because they don't want you to feel the impact that it's going to have on our cities and all that. And then HUD, I hear about HUD, and I was talking to them this morning, and there's some drastic cuts coming for HUD. They're thinking about cutting the budget by 40%. And it's going to hit those, grants that the cities get and our Section 8 housing and public housing. So we got to stay alert to that and do everything that we can. And we got each other. And the main thing is that we stand up for our rights. Because if we don't do that, and the way things are going right now, we could stand to lose our democracy. And we're only, 10 months into this administration. They still have another 3 years. Just imagine all the damage could be done. But LULAC is there. We're going to stand together and see what we can do. We have filed 3 major lawsuits against this administration, and we're getting ready to do some more. One of them that we are contemplating for veterans, as we're talking about veterans this morning, is that 2 things they've done. The first thing they did is at the Arlington Cemetery, they erased all the history of all the minorities and women. Okay? That's unacceptable. You could be able to go to Arlington Cemetery, and on their website and everything else, you could see all our veterans that have fought for this country. All that's been erased. So we're contemplating a lawsuit on that. The other one that we're contemplating in a lawsuit is the renaming of the bases and then bringing back these Confederate statues and all that. We're not going to stand for that. We're looking and working with some of our partners. We have firms in the United States that are working. Paul Weiss firm out of New York is working with a democracy. That's what we're doing. You know, we're looking at all these lawsuits that are coming. We're going to be engaged in that, and we're going to follow through. So anyway, on behalf of Lulac, it's my honor to be here, to be with you. Thank you for the invite. Have a great conference the next 2 days, and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much.
You can get a chance to check out some lowriders at the Plaza of Española. So come on by between 5:30 and 9. I'm so excited to be here with you. And it's funny because all roads are common and everyone seems to know everybody in this world. Our world's a lot smaller than we tend to think it is when it's a lot bigger. You know, I know Mr. Fred's from Silver City, and he was telling me that my good friend, the Mayor Pro Tem from Silver City, was one of his students. I was talking to Mr. Palomares, and he actually was a good colleague of my mentor, Mayor Richard Lucero, for many years too as well. So just great opportunity to meet with all of you today, and importance of defending Hispanic American rights in our country, and the importance at the local level, the state level, and the national level, especially right now with what's going on in Washington. We want to ensure that we have the empowerment of our minority, and ultimately what we are becoming is the majority of the United States population. So we're really excited to have you here in our valley. Española is proud of rich culture and heritage.
It's been an honor for me as Lieutenant Governor and as a state senator to see the work that's been done in DC by our federal delegation. And the work that's been done in DC that continually makes me comfortable to know that New Mexico, we're going to be taken care of every single day. And this is a veteran's breakfast, which means so much to me because my father was a Vietnam veteran, and I saw the impacts of PTSD. I saw the impacts of trying to get your services, your benefits. And just about a month ago, I traveled to DC with delegates who are members of Military Base Planning Commission. And we visited all of our congressional delegation. And I can tell you, sitting there in Senator Ben Ray Lujan's office, I felt right at home because he embraced us and he assured us that what is important to the state of New Mexico is to take care of our seniors, to take care of those that have individuals with disabilities, to take care of our education system, and to take care of our veterans. And I watched the speeches that he gave on the floor. I watched the passion that he speaks with. And I'm assured that we are in well taken care of hands, because we have people that not only will talk the talk, but is willing to stand up to those in power, even if you are in the minority, and will be the difference why we change and we see the tone in Washington must change to the voice that we as New Mexico are proud to have in Senator Ben Ray Lujan. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Senator.
These attacks that we see on people just because of the way that we look, the accents that we speak with, the food that we eat, the music that we listen to, it all puts us on a list. And that's not me making something up. It wasn't too long ago, Mr. President, you'll remember this, that the United States Department of Agriculture was doing a training for all of the employees that work for the Forest Service. And this was at a time that they were saying, well, you need to go round people up. He said, here's what you look for. Look for empty cans of Mexican beer in the forest. Look for empty bags of tortillas. Well, I guess for the people that don't make them themselves. Listen for people that might be listening to Spanish music, or those that are speaking with a little bit of an accent. Well, when I saw this training manual, I thought, well, hell, this is me on the weekend. Frijoles Canyon, I mean, you pick a place. We have our favorite areas. They wanted to prey on someone based on some bias that somebody had, that they were going to try picking people off. That's why we should all be concerned about the nonsense that we see today. Because I'll tell you what, just as many of my brothers and sisters who may be undocumented, there are citizens of America now, people here from New Mexico that are being preyed upon and called upon and being mistreated. Let me tell you a story of one of my colleagues that I served with in the United States Senate. This gentleman's name is Alex Padilla, United States Senator, former Secretary of State of the beautiful state of California. He's about 6'3", 6'4". You can't miss this guy. Like me, okay. 5'6" on a good day. If the shoes are right. But this guy is a towering presence. Recently, this United States Senator was supposed to be meeting with a federal official in California in a federal building. He got escorted into that building by a U.S. Marshal and an FBI agent, 2 federal law enforcement officials. He was supposed to get briefed by a general on what was happening down in LA. But that general had been called to a press conference about 6 doors down. So Senator Padilla said, well, if that's where this guy is, I'm going to go join him. So we walked in there. Well, the Secretary of Homeland Security happened to be in that room, having a press conference. She said something that the United States Senator did not agree with. So Alex spoke up. Look, if Alex was not welcome in that press conference, they asked him to leave. They asked him to leave. If they need to escort him out of that room, they escort him out of the room. No harm, no foul. But what happened is they pushed Alex out of the room. They took him out into the hallway. They told him to get on his knees. He got down so that they could do that, and then they pushed his face down to the floor. Now, mind you, he was escorted into this building by a United States Marshal and by an FBI agent. The claim that the other agents that detained him and pushed him on his face said is that they didn't know who he was. That's lie number 1. He had escorts with him in a federal building. I don't know how many of you have been to a federal building recently, but you don't get in without getting screened, without signing in. And especially if you have escort, people know who you are. And like I told you, the guy's like 6.5 feet tall. They know who this guy is. Now I'm telling you that this would not have happened to Alex if he was not one of a few Hispanic United States senators that happened to be in that room. They were trying to make an example out of him. Now, I went to the United States Senate floor to talk about what happened to Alex as I found out when it happened. I asked for my Senate colleagues to speak up and say something, because this isn't right for any one of my colleagues to be treated that way. And then I pled to the 6 of us that are Latinos in the United States Senate. 4 of us happen to be Democrats, 2 happen to be Republicans. One of my colleagues happened to be the presiding officer that day. One of my colleagues from Ohio. I told him, we all need to say something, but if you're not willing to say something now, just pray on it. We cannot stand for this to be happening in our community. And when they added $4 trillion to the debt, they didn't do this because of fiscal responsibility. They actually set off a trigger, so now all the Medicare beneficiaries in this room, that program's in question as well. It is not right. Right and wrong. We know the difference. Lulac, I want to say thank you to what you do day in and day out for speaking up and for showing up. Because some people may say it's political. It's not political. It's about standing up for a community. Thank you for standing up for people that look like me, that look like you, Mr. President, that speak with that little accent. I am so proud of the community that has raised me and has allowed me to speak up for everyone here. Now, there's someone that I have learned from in this community. Sidebar conversations, listening to him speak, watching his advocacy. He's a former commander of the VFW. He reminds me every day of those challenges, those trials that go through when you're asked to step into war. Not to forget about our loved ones when they come home. And not just those who have served in person, but those families that are serving from abroad as well. Former commander from 5610, from the VFW, who reminds us every day about our responsibilities for standing up for veterans and ensuring that we're doing something significant when it comes to stopping and ending suicide, especially for our brothers and sisters who have served. And that's none other than Chris Archuleta. Chris, the mic is yours, sir.
Such an honor to be here, such a privilege to come and speak in front of you guys. Thank you, Lulac, for the awesome invitation. So my name is Chris Archuleta. I'm a past state commander for the Department of Mexico Veteran of Foreign Wars. I'm also the quartermaster and adjutant for Hildy Hill Post 5610. I'm here to talk to you guys about something that hardly gets discussed. PTSD amongst veterans. In addition to professional help, community engagement plays a vital role in recovery process. Family members, friends, and fellow veterans can provide invaluable emotional support and understanding. Initiatives and promote socialization and connections such as veteran support groups and community events. All these things can help alleviate the feelings of isolation and foster a sense of belonging. PTSD is a significant issue affecting veterans and their families, stemming from the unique and often traumatic experiences of military service. Addressing this mental health crisis requires a multifaceted approach that includes raising awareness, reducing the stigma. That's very important. We gotta change the stigma about mental health. By reducing stigma and enhancing access to support services. By creating an environment that prioritizes mental health and well-being, we can help our veterans navigate the challenges of PTSD and everything else associated with mental health, and pave their way for healing and reintegration into society. Their sacrifices made by those who serve deserve recognition, support, and understanding as they work toward reclaiming their lives after trauma. I'm going to end with a little story about a soldier member. This soldier member was deployed with Alpha Company 1st of the 200 Infantry. First deployment to Iraq. He goes out, does his deal, completes the mission, and he comes back. Comes back home, diagnosed with PTSD. February 19th, 2012, that soldier member decided he was going to commit suicide. The reason why he was going to commit suicide is because everything that he experienced in war finally caught up with him. All the IEDs, the graphic scenes that individual saw really messed his life up. February 19, 2012, soldier member pleading and crying for help. At the time, he didn't know that his girlfriend took every single weapon out of his house. New Mexico State Police, Espanola Ambulance, and my National Guard chaplain were waiting down the road for me. Finally, State Police comes in and they clear the scene. There was no weapons. They put that soldier member in the back of the police car. They called in the Espanola Ambulance, and it seemed like forever that soldier member was in the back of that rig. Finally, that soldier member said, okay, let's go to the hospital. So that soldier member got 7 stitches in his lip. From that night forward, there has not been a drop of alcohol that soldier member has drank. He's been sober for 13 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that soldier member is me. I'm that soldier member. When the times get tough, to all you veterans out there that are struggling, reach out. Promise you, reach out. We're here to help you.
What I'm here for, my husband Cristino was in the U.S. Army Security Agency from 1963 to 67. And
There's many issues facing our veterans today, and this has been his biggest issue and something he's fought for years and still fighting, but I think we all need help with it. In my past pursuit, I'm reading his words, in my past pursuit for disability compensation from the Veterans Administration, I discovered an insult to every veteran that has a disability rating. That insult is the inequality of pay compensation based on your percent of disability and what a 100% disabled veteran gets. And brought examples. You can't do it alone. It takes a village. One person cannot do it. You need to show up, stand up, and speak up. And Mr. President of Lulac, I challenge you to take on this cause, because I think it's a very, very important cause for our veterans. Mr. Ben Lujan, Senator Lujan, hopefully that you can take this back to Washington also. But it's not fair what they're doing to veterans. They deserve an equal amount considering the 100% disability that is given. So with that message is from Cristino, and I wish he could have been here, but he wasn't able to. So I carry that message for him, and I thank you.
Bienvenidas y bienvenidos. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies, and all of you, esteemed guests, damas y caballeros. As the First Lady of Lulac, it is a great honor to welcome each and every one of you to the Women's Luncheon today. We're here to learn, share ideas, and galvanize ourselves to further our mission. We gather as a powerful community of women, a sisterhood of leaders, advocates, and mentors, all committed to lifting each other up and creating lasting and positive changes in our communities. The convention is a celebration of our resilience and our ability to lead with both courage and compassion. It is a space where your voices matter, your experiences are valued, and your ideas can take flight.
Please join me in welcoming our moderator and my favorite neighbor in the whole world, Darlene.
For this Lulac panel, this is the 96th convention in New Mexico. My name is Darlene Melendez, as you've heard, and this is actually my first New Mexico Lulac convention. So I'm very excited to not just experience it the whole time, but specifically this panel, we're going to be hearing from very inspiring women this afternoon. They're all just strong leaders in New Mexico making an impact from immigration rights, education, voting rights, reproductive rights, and also the preservation of arts and culture. All of these things are very important to further Lulac's mission, which is, of course, advancing the economic, educational, political, health, and cultural conditions of the Hispanic and Latino community here in New Mexico. So today we're going to hear how all of these wonderful panelists are breaking barriers, driving change, and creating opportunities for our communities to thrive. So our first panelist, she is Dr. Irene Vasquez. She is the chair of Chicana and Chicano Studies at the University of New Mexico. She is a champion for ethnic studies, working to expand access to inclusive, culturally grounded education in New Mexico and across the nation. So our first panelist, Dr. Irene Vasquez, let's give her a round of applause.
I always have a special connection with Lulac, having done some research on the organization and understanding its impact on generations beyond when it was established. So, right, the importance of our ancestral wisdom and culture and knowledge, and how we pass that on to our children. I can say that at the University of New Mexico, over the past 20 years, we've really grown the department. We started out as a program with a minor, and we now have a minor, a major, 2 certificates, a master's, and a PhD. But Chicano Studies has grown every year. We had a 100% retention and graduation of our undergraduate and graduate students going into our evaluation?
Is Marcela Diaz. She is the Executive Director of Somos un Pueblo Unido.
I'm so excited to be here. I want to thank Lulac, who's always been such a strong and wonderful partner here in New Mexico of Somos un Pueblo Unido and our work to support immigrants' rights for many years. And thanks to Lulac for bringing us together today and lifting up these incredible women leaders across our state. Immigrants' rights touches every part of Lulac's mission: civil rights, education, economic opportunity, and political inclusion. And I'm honored to be a part of this conversation. Even though we only make up 10%, we have an outsized impact on the economy of our state. We make up 13% of the workforce in key industries. We make up 17% of the oil and gas industry, for instance, and those are very difficult jobs that a lot of our members are dealing with in the Permian Basin region. And so they go to the legislature often and say, listen, all this money, all these surpluses actually come at a cost. It's not the rich oil and gas men in their air-conditioned offices that are making this money from the state. It is coming at the cost of the lives and the bodies and the safety and the health and communities of immigrant workers who work in petroleum and in fossil fuel industry. And so our members go to the State House and into local communities and say, we really want more, not just for ourselves, but for all struggling workers in our communities. We want to see that investment back into our communities. We have an incredible tradition in New Mexico of supporting immigrants, integrating immigrants, protecting immigrants rather than alienating our families. And that goes back 30, 40, 50 years. In the 1980s, we were the first sanctuary state in the country to recognize the need to protect and support refugees and asylum applicants from Central America, from Salvador and Guatemala. So while New Mexico has braced itself over the last 30 years for this moment by passing and supporting all of these good policies, it's just clearly not enough. And we continue to live in a state of contradiction. While we have a lot of good policies locally, the constant attacks and fear from the federal government are real. And so we have to really step up. Not just at the state level, but in every city and county of this state. We are resilient as a community, and we're resilient because we have such good allies at every level of government.
In 2021, New Mexico passed a repeal of an abortion ban that was on the books since the 1960s. And of course, I was honored to be the sponsor of that bill. And Governor Lulac Grisham did sign it into law. And that particular piece of legislation, if a woman needed access to an abortion, she had to go in front of a panel and essentially ask permission. And we don't know, of course, what the panel would have been made up with, but I would assume it would have been a lot of men. So, of course, this was back in the 60s. And this was, in 2021, of course, that was the year before Roe versus Wade was overturned by the United States Supreme Court. Restrictions, when we talk about access to abortion care. We don't have a waiting period. There's no parental consent, and there's no inability to use state funds for abortion care. And again, as I mentioned before, the previous bill that we repealed back in 2021 definitely has some of these restrictions in them. And when we're talking about in the legislature and other places across our state, and actually across the country, New Mexico is held up as a model of what we can do to assure that women have access to reproductive health care. And what I wanted to mention is that the reproductive safety net that we have in our country is composed of FQHCs, which is really explained as federally qualified healthcare centers. And here in New Mexico, we have about 200 of them. There's also the Title X clinics, Title 10, I should say X, but the Title 10 clinics, the Indian Health Service. We have state and local health departments, which is your public health offices, and of course in many communities across our country, and here in New Mexico, some of our Planned Parenthood clinics. There's always so much more to go into, and maybe some of the questions we can get into a little bit more in detail. But this is a serious issue for our communities. And as I know, I talked to persons in my own community about access to health care. Medicaid is a whole other ball of wax that we have yet to look at and see what we could do. Because as we continue to have cuts in Medicaid, those are the monies that help provide monies to sustain many of these facilities that provide healthcare, reproductive healthcare services for women.
Wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started to realize that we were given this incredible gift from my mother of a tradition that, of course, comes, many people feel that it comes from Spain because it evolved in Spain, but it actually was the blending of many, many cultures, of many oppressed cultures in Spain, and became their way of having a voice in an environment where they did not have a voice. And that was mainly the Romas, or what we used to call gypsies, and now we are to call Romas. But from very many different countries, Africa, there were Moorish, there were, they came from the Middle East, and bringing together with them traditions of music and dance that started to take on a unique flavor, because it wasn't purely from any of these countries. It was a combination of the music and dance forms of these countries that created the flamenco that we know today. I was able to put together a weekend of performances for the 50th anniversary of the College of Fine Arts. Well, it was received with tremendous enthusiasm. And so then the dean at the time asked if I would make it an annual event. I was asked to take the flamenco program to develop an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree in the flamenco area. And so this has been the perfect sort of journey for me to come back after my retirement at the university, where I was there for over 40 years, to be able to now get more involved in outreach classes that we're doing in flamenco around the state. And I'm very honored to be able to be part of that team. So flamenco continues, the work that needs to be done in education for our children continues, and that's my entryway there, that I want to be able to be very much a part, hands-on experience with these young people, studying something that is foreign to them, but isn't foreign to them. And once they start to study it, they start to realize how much of their culture and their traditions are part of this beautiful art form.
New Mexico's worst forest fire in history was purposely set by the United States Forest Service as a prescribed burn. It burned over 341,000 pristine acres and hundreds of homes, displacing traditional land-based communities who have lived on the land for generations. The governor and the entire New Mexico congressional delegation are united in demanding that the federal government take responsibility and fully compensate those who have suffered losses through no fault of their own, and have introduced the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon Fire Assistance Act in Congress to that effect.
We just loved it out here, and so peaceful, and the fire started and we watched it burn. So with that, you try to go to FEMA, with the federal government, who has claim responsibility for this, and they tell you that they will only help you to repair your home so that it's livable, and that's like the minimum, bare minimum that they will help you with, the barest.
And then from there, almost all those houses all the way to Manuelitas, almost I'd say 80% of them, all of them burned down. Oh, es una tristeza, dile. Es un desmadre y un infierno.
I never expected that to happen here. See, you read about it elsewhere, you hear about it, but then one day it just happened here, you know. They're responsible for it. They admit it. Yeah. They take total responsibility, but pues, they're not really helping us out very much.
And history. The Hispanic Genealogical Research Center of New Mexico was organized in 1993, and it is 32 years old today. It's a 501(c) private nonprofit, and the funds come from membership yearly dues. So we encourage you to please join us. You'll hear more about what the benefits are and how it will help you get further into your own genealogy and your own stories and into your own communities so that you become advocates for our history. We know that our experiences in Nuevo Mexico, yendo a las escuelas, nunca hablaron de nuestra gente, de nuestras historias, que no tenía lo que hicimos, nuestros antepasados, casi nadie sabe. So it is up to us. If we are not going to do it, it's not going to get done. In this day and age, with so much coming at everybody, it takes a decision to make this important. So I encourage you to help us make this important. So we're located at the National Hispano Cultural Center in Albuquerque. How many of you have gone and attended offerings there in Albuquerque at the Cultural Center? I don't know how many of you have, but there's the Disney Center, the Art Center, so there's a lot always going on. But this year will be their 25th year anniversary of that location. And so they plan some special celebrations all year long. With the Hispanic settlement in 1598, aquí en esta tierra, right in here, our ancestors were here 176 years before there was a USA. A major publishing book that he did is called The Origins of New Mexico Families. It's, this is the cover of the book, and it's a genealogy of Spanish colonial period. And it's a 441-page book, very thick. And he worked very hard to collect and correct and research the information on all the families that he could in his lifetime. So this book is one of the main resources that we have used when we started using. And we continue to use, and that is the purpose of our Genealogical Research Center, was continuing his work and coming forward. So, he is honored by the New Mexico History Museum on the east side. It's named the History and the Archival Photo Library after him, Fray Américo Chavez Museum at the Palace of the Governors. And you'll see on the east side of the palace his statue in front of that museum. His bronze statue is outside in front. So today, we're here in New Mexico. We've been here, we're descendants the last 425 years of our Hispano history, and it's also long and oh so unique. So our Hispanic Genealogical Resource Center in New Mexico, after Father's death, has since been doing the work that we to continue. We thank you for this invitation, and we hope you too can help us through your work and your efforts. All your ideas and supports are gratefully appreciated. Remember, we are New Mexico history, we are Mexico history, and we are U.S. history. And it's up for us to get it out there. So
but I understand that Josie Marujo was inducted into the Lulac, National Lulac Women's Hall of Fame last week. So anyway, I wanted to honor Josie for all the work that she's done with a presidential medal. So.
Did you talk? That's it. Oh, that'd be good. Gorgeous. You know, it's partnership between the convention,
that we did was between Santa Fe and Albuquerque, so I can't take all the credit for that because we have our partners.
Presentation, I think it's important to acknowledge that I am a product of Lulac. I'm proud to be a fourth generation Lulacer. My great grandfather was a Lulacer. My paternal grandparents were Lulacers. Many of you all know my father, Pablo Martinez, was also very involved in Lulac for so many years, since the 70s. And then myself and my brothers were all members of Lulac. Lulac has been really a family-based organization. New Mexico was the second state in Lulac to form. Texas was first, and we've been proud to be next to Texas and have worked closely with our Texas brothers and sisters. But New Mexico was the second state to be involved in Lulac. The first person that I'll start honoring is Filimon Martinez. Filimon Martinez was actually, before I read about him, I just want to acknowledge some of the things that I've heard my father say. I didn't fact check them, but my dad knows his stuff. As I recall that many have accounted that Filimon Martinez was at the original Lulac Assembly in 1929. And so he was there, and he was heavily involved. He became the 10th national president of Lulac from 1938 to 1939. Filimon Martinez was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was the first non-Texan elected president. He began his administration by visiting local councils. In Angelo, Texas, he was appalled to see no Mexicans allowed signs displayed in many public places. He vowed to rid the town of these signs and proceeded to visit with public officials. After several friendly chats, the discriminatory signs were then disappeared. Filimon helped eliminate school segregation in Ando, Texas, and convinced the Texas Secretary of Education to eliminate other discriminatory practices against Hispanic students. He organized over 14 new Lulac councils in Arizona and in New Mexico. The next person we have to acknowledge is Antonio M. Fernandez, who was the 12th president of Lulac from 1940 to 1941. Antonio Manuel Fernandez was born in Colfax County, New Mexico on January 17, 1902. He was raised in Agua Dulce, in the Colfax-Mora County area. He attended public school in Springer, New Mexico. Shout out to Springer, that's where my grandparents are from. He was an attorney and was a prosecutor for the 8th Judicial District in Raton. He served in the New Mexico State Legislature and was elected to Congress in 1942. He was the New Mexico representative, and then he was later elected to President General Council of Lulac at the National Convention in 1940, and he became the only United States congressman to ever serve as national president of Lulac. And he unfortunately passed away on October 15th of 1956.
About discrimination and prejudice in Otero County. Tell me about that and why you joined LULAC.
The reason I joined LULAC is because you still see Mexicans in Alamogordo, New Mexico that walk with their heads down. They don't hold them up high. And it's a shame that they do that. I try and change that as much as I can because they do not belong looking down.
And why is that the people look
Because
down?
they're afraid of the white man. Because the white man's always told them what to do, when to do it, segregated the schools, and it's just wrong what they did. They are not better than us. Not. Capital N-O-T.
And what's your name?
My name's Linda Gonzalez. And I'm proud to say I'm Mexican. Thank you.
I'm a state senator, Linda Lopez, out of Albuquerque. I represent the South Valley, Southwest Mesa, and I've been there. This is my 29th year in the Senate. So, what's real interesting is when I go and tell persons how long I've been in, I'm like, so how old are all of you? And of course, sometimes they're different ranges of ages, but it's a eye opener for me sometimes to kind of then go, all right. So you talk about a generation of people, right? Of young people who've come, and you are, as the young people, my future, my future leaders in one way or another for whatever you choose to do. And I know that being here today, Enlace has done some wonderful work around the state of New Mexico, working with our young people, and I appreciate all of us who have taken the time to be here this morning. I know our lives are very busy.
By mentoring students at the college who are first-time freshmen. They'll be available to answer their questions, work with them, give them some guidance as needed. And today they're joining us as students as well. So I have Cipriano.
Good morning.
And Lauren. This is Cipriano's girlfriend. She's joining us too. I'm making her a student. She's coming back to college. She's coming back to college soon. We're gonna bring her back to Northern. And then we have, let me see your name tags. Reyes and Cheyenne and Zoe and Rose and what was your name? Lorenzo. So they're all joining us. So if you guys want to do this in a mingle way, like get up, stand up, introduce yourselves to each other, the students, we'll take a few minutes to do that. I can get started. Welcome back, everybody. I won't introduce myself again. I'll let Sandra introduce herself and say welcome and everything. But this workshop is going to be on crafting a powerful college application. Thank you guys for being here again, and I'm going to hand it over to Miss Sandra Adams.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here today. I'm really excited to be here. As I told the group before, I started in kindergarten and now I'm ending in college. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like. The first thing I want you to do is imagine you just got to college. You just got your college roommate assignment and it's the person sitting next to you. So does everyone have somebody next to you? Yes. I want you to introduce yourself and share 3 things. Those 3 things are your name, where you're from, your dream job, college or job, and as I like to say, what you want to be when you grow up, and one quirky habit or fun fact your roommate should know about you. So I'd like you to do that amongst yourselves.
Manuela said, make sure you get the other side too.
Yeah.
Just to stay right. So yeah, but those are the people that present, and then I tell them, you know, after you present, you may leave. You don't have to stay for the business meeting till 9 o'clock. You can leave, or you can invite to every meeting a speaker, somebody from the community that has something to say or present to you, or you invite them, or they approach you or the president, have them come in and do a presentation. And that ties you up a little bit more.
1, 2, 3. ¡Órale!